This is Mark McCleskey, Ocean City Beach Patrol, 1971 to 76, and I'm here with Captain Butch Arbin and doing an interview with him about his entire career on the Ocean City Beach Patrol, starting with his first day. Captain Butch, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been with the Beach Patrol. This is beginning my 45th year. I spent 7 years actually on the beach before being promoted to sergeant. There are really two names that come up that got me here to the Beach Patrol. One is Greg Pittman, whose father worked with my father, and he was the first person I knew on the Beach Patrol. But more importantly, coming down here, actually vacationing with my family, staying at 43rd Street. For a week's vacation, I went out and I met a lifeguard on the beach, a guy named Mark. He was a crew chief there, and he's actually standing behind me right now. And got to talk to him during that week, and he said, you should try it. That was in 1972. So I went home that summer, back to Baltimore. I'm from Parkville, went to Parkville High School. Enrolled in a senior life-saving class at Woodcroft Swim Club, and just took a lifeguarding course there. And then the next summer, 1973, came back and tested for the Beach Patrol in a very early test. Now, I didn't get hired because at that time they only needed so many people, and I was a runner, not a swimmer, and they took the top, say, 10 swimmers out of the group that passed the test. They didn't take the rest of us. But I came back later on vacation with my family in July, and they needed a guard. They took me out, and a guy named Lieutenant John Swivel took me out during a nor'easter and tested me, and since I didn't give up, they hired me. The very next day, I was training at the rock pile. Back in those days, you just spent the day. Well, of course, there were no breaks. We worked 7 days a week. So when they went to lunch, they left me there. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I had my first rescue at that moment. The very next day, which was my first paid day with the Beach Patrol, I was at the other end, sitting at the Maryland-Delaware line. So that's how it began. I worked in Crew 18 and a half under Crew Chief Bill Baker. I worked 4 days a week in the north end of Ocean City, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday as a rover. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I was in the inlet crew. And so I lived on Talbot Street in a place called the Jarman House. And interestingly, we just built our new Beach Patrol headquarters. And when I look out my office window, I see the room I lived in my first 12 years on the Beach Patrol, and also the apartment that my wife and I lived in the first year we were married. So it's kind of a full circle, but I spent my time up in the north in that crew. My first crew chief position came in 1976. I was crew chief at 126th Street, which is no longer a crew chief spot anymore. The next summer they asked if they could move me down south to the inlet. I was inlet crew chief for a short period of time. Then they moved me to North Division, which I spent 2 years in North Division as a crew chief, Crew 2. And then the next summer is when I was promoted to sergeant. I spent, I think, 3 years as a sergeant, became a lieutenant. Basically under Captain Schoaf was his second in command. And then when he became sick, he asked me to become acting captain. A year after that, he died. The city council then appointed me as captain, and I've been captain ever since. And I'm beginning my 45th year with the Ocean City Beach Patrol.
That's awesome. Well, Captain Butch, I'm going to ask you the question I ask everybody in these interviews, and for you it's going to be difficult. What is the most memorable rescue save that you've had?
Well, I've had a lot of different things happen, but the rescue I remember most was I was up 136th Street, and back when we had, the rafts, we rent the Converse rafts from like the beach boxes, and there was a little girl out in the raft in the ocean, and a wave hit, raft went one way, and she went straight down. I immediately went out there. You would think that a child that couldn't swim wouldn't be out in the middle of the ocean by themselves without adults, but I went out there. I remember diving under a wave and luckily coming up with her in my arms. She was fine, and, but again, she had no ability to swim, and on the way in, met her father coming out, but he basically rented his daughter a raft, pushed her out in the middle of the ocean, and left her out there. And
Wow.
we see that a lot, but that was kind of memorable, and there's lots of other memorable times. But 45 years, it kind of all blends together. The thing to me these days that really is what makes a difference is watching the newer people, the people we've hired, we've trained, do the job. Just standing back during an emergency and watching them work like a fine oiled machine, everybody doing their part. And that has to do with the recruiting, the training that we put them through. And if we can do that, then we continue to pass on what the Beach Patrol was when I started, because it still comes down to being able to run fast and swim, and that hasn't changed in all the 80 years of the Ocean City Beach Patrol. Excellent.
Thank you very much, Captain Butch. And I'd like to say personally how much I appreciate you as not only a friend, but I, as well as all the other alumni Beach Patrol guys, we consider you our captain. And I think you've done an excellent job, and we're very proud to stand next to you.
Well, thank you. And again, we just really want to make you all proud, because it's carrying on a tradition that matters. So thanks.
Excellent. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much. Let me hit this.